have been thinking about that whole question about meaning in life, and aware that how throughout my life that has changed so many times. What brings meaning and what brings me grounded into this day. And, for these days, it has to do with connection. And at the root of that connection is connected to the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reflections on Living Well podcast, where we explore perspectives on the good life in the 21st century. I am your host, Broderick. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reflections on Living Well podcast. Today, our guest is Jami Sieber, electric cellist and vocalist. Jami reaches inside the soul with the compositions that are contemporary, timeless, lush, and powerfully evocative. Her style of performance has been recognized internationally. An innovative musician, Jami's music moves beyond the surface, inspiring listeners with her musical prowess and humanity. Her lifelong commitment to the environment, social justice, and the healing arts is at the heart of her music, reflecting a deep dedication to the arts as a medium of exploration and an awareness of the interconnectedness of all beings. Jami is a performer that makes transformation appear simple, taking a traditionally classical instrument and morphing it into the source of a multidimensional range of expressive works. Hi, Jami.
Hi, Broderick. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you too. It's probably the hardest part of this podcast for me is reading the bio.
Well, and for me, it's the hardest part is listening to it. Like,
I feel you.
Is that me?
Right. Who is that?
Oh my God.
I'm excited for our conversation.
Me too.
We've been back and forth for a little while, and I had the pleasure to listen to your music at the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, and such a wonderful experience. And I was like, let me walk up to this person and see if they would be interested in coming onto the podcast to share their thoughts and ideas, wisdom about life. It's exciting to have you here. I know I just read the bio, but this is why, because of what you just said, hard to listen to it. I like to ask guests to introduce themselves, say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll let the dance unfold from here.
Wow, what else to say? I am a loving being on this planet at a moment of crisis, and I am doing my best as an artist and as a daughter and as a lover to be present in it. And I love doing music. That's how I propagate beauty in this world. And I don't know what else to say. I think it will just come out as we talk as to who I am. But I'm just really thrilled to be here today. Really thrilled.
Awesome. I love that, right? The bio is good. That's why I like to read it, because I think it gives the audience an opportunity to see a person from that perspective. But I also like this part because of what you just said. It's hard to say something about yourself, and and I think it unfolds in the dialogue, in the conversation. That's one of the facets of that's one of the facets of this podcast is, yes, I want to get your view and your perspective, a genuine view and perspective on life. But in the process of doing that, it's something about you unravels for the audience and for yourself and for me. It's just like this play that we're having here to learn something about ourselves and about our thinking. So that's the idea here.
Yeah, it's what collaboration is all about, and dialogue.
Yeah. I love having conversation with everybody, all kinds of different people, but musicians are different. It's everybody, every little genre, every little section that people, or every demographic that people come from.
Mhm.
There's a certain
Mhm.
uniqueness, and music. Yeah, I love music. It's so powerful, and the place that music takes you, is quite lovely. I'm sure that'll come up. Well, I'm not sure. I'm thinking that something about music is going to come up in this conversation as we go along.
I can pretty much guarantee it. You know,
Awesome.
it's just how I roll.
Right. Oh, I love it. Well, I'm excited for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start here. What does living well mean to you? What is a good life? What makes life worth living? Those questions are I use interchangeably here, but just kind of spark this, a flow of ideas from you about that theme.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Since you contacted me, I have been thinking about that whole question about meaning in life, and aware that how throughout my life that has changed so many times. What brings meaning and what brings me grounded into this day. And, for these days, it has to do with connection. And at the root of that connection is connected to the natural world. It's like when I have that connection, when I go out into the woods, when I go into camping, when I go on the water. I just got back from Alaska in June with my
Mm.
partner and sister and her husband. And I just felt such a fulfilling presence. And so the natural world to me is a mirror into my own connection to myself. It's a doorway into a connection with others. And it's a connection into this web of life. And when I'm connected that web of life, I feel like that's my full life. That's kind of all I need to start the day, and so that's my focus, is connecting to the natural world, which then opens the doors to myself and to others.
Mm. Beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, we gotta definitely unpack that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, connection has been a theme on this podcast, and for various people, different takes on it, different angles, different ways of looking at it. And I love how you started with connection in nature and in general.
Mm.
What is it about it? You said a little bit there, but can you elaborate a little bit more
Yeah.
about what is it about the natural world that makes you feel this
Mm.
way? And maybe you can say a little bit about what it makes you feel like.
There's a sense of awe and
Mm.
wonder. And to me, that is in this world where so much is written out and scripted and defined and created in ways that takes the imagination and the glory and awe out of life. The natural world is messy. It's lush. It appeals to all my senses. It like wakes up my sense of smell, my sense of taste, touch, um, in ways that so much doesn't. And so I think I would start there, and then just to see such beauty and intricacy and the way that, the bugs crawling on trees. That there's a mission when that bug is crawling, and when it's connecting with its little, community. And I just love that. I love
Mm.
that. And it appeals to the biology part of me. I'm also a nurse. I graduated as a nurse back in the 80s. And, biology is just like this creative, seething world of cells and everything that I get excited about. I love listening to Robin Wall Kimmerer speak, just her insight into the natural world and her invitation to us to jump in is so profoundly beautiful to me and so necessary for these
Mhm.
days.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah,
and
one.
also, you know
Okay.
what? One other thing that I need to
Mhm.
mention is time. Time has a different meaning in nature. It's like, it's not by clock, it's by season, it's by year, it's by, it's a longer, slower time. And that just helps me pause. It helps me breathe. It helps me come into a place of stillness that
Mhm.
for me is just so exciting. It holds everything in that stillness.
Mm. Oh wow, that's so good. Excitement and stillness. We're definitely going to come back into that because that is
Yeah.
so beautiful. That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
want to clarify some things here for the audience and just kind of elaborate on some of those things you said earlier. Awe and wonder and the messiness of it. The
Mm-hmm.
so when you're referring to the natural world, I want to be clear because I don't know if some philosopher type here like where everything is the natural world. Of course, we're using language here, but what we're referring to is the aspects of the world that hasn't been um, overly, what's the word, modified by humans.
Yeah,
So
cultivated and cleaned
cultivated
up,
up,
and
yeah. So
Mhm.
that part of the natural, yeah, we're natural. Yes, everything is natural, of course, folks. But what we're referring to, I know, right? We're referring to I want to say uncontaminated, but the modified or minimally modified natural world, and what it offers, that messiness, right? And that
Mhm.
sense of awe and wonder, that awesomeness of nature, and the lack of the unknowing, the uncertainty of it. And
Yeah.
when we're watching nature, uh, especially when you go out there and when you're not around a whole bunch of humans making a whole bunch of noise, and you just watch and you see this magic
Mhm.
unfold, like you were saying,
Yeah.
this sophistication, this complexity, all of the interconnections, the interactions.
Yeah.
It's a study to go out and just be with nature, exploring nature in this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And to me, it's a vital part of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it feeds areas of our brain and heart that um, are necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and at that awe, I want to use now playing with words and quote unquote defining our terms. I'm going to play with words here and try to put together some of the things you just said, that sense of awe and
Mm.
wonder, and then in how I love that. I won't say a definition, but like a way of describing awe and wonder is this excitement and stillness. I love how you said that. Can you say
Uh,
a little bit more about that for me, of course, but in the audience as well? This awe and wonder, this idea of, oh, if that resonates with you, the sense of excitement and a stillness as a way of describing awe and wonder. Can you say something more
mm,
about that?
mm. Well, it's um, to me, stillness and silence has spaciousness. It's got this wide open clearing that is, to me, that is like, wow. It's like, that is completely undiscovered. It's
Mm,
undiscovered. And so that's where I get excited, is when there is silence, when there is stillness. I wrote this poem that turned into a song, or sort of a poem and a lyrical chorus. Um, and it was inspired by time in Thailand with elephants. and by the notion of what the Thai people pronounce the word samadhi, which is a Sanskrit word. They pronounce it samadhi, samadhi, which is that state of being one with all. And so that inspired this piece to come from me. And the chorus is, can I find the moments in between? Can I hear the silence within the song? Can I breathe in the prayer of the mountain? Breathe in the prayer of the mountain. And it's like, how do we go to those places of, in between the moments where you fall into that crack, or where you fall into and you hear the silence in all the chaos of music or traffic or construction. You hear the silence and you go, whew, I'm going to rest here for a moment, and go there. So that's exciting to me. That's where I wake up.
I love it. Waking up into the undiscoverable in a way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can't we can never discover all that's rest in silence and stillness.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mind is almost like in samadhi. The mind has stopped. It hadn't stopped,
Yes.
but this idea of the ruminations of the mind are stilled. And in the Yoga Sutra, we talk about the yoga is the stilling of the thought waves of the mind. That's one perspective on yoga. So once those thought waves of the
Mm.
minds are silenced, are stilled, we can rest in the silence. We can rest in the stillness of being. And that's
Yeah.
it's so in that, and it's very yogic what you're saying, because this idea of this excitement,
Yeah.
it's not the excitement of the mind or the rumination. It's this,
Mm-mm.
like well, in Sanskrit we talk about ananda, this bliss. This is what the Vedantic
Mm.
philosophers, some of them talk about the bliss, the ananda of stillness and being. There's
Mm.
this,
Mm.
it's a joy that's not the same kind of joy of the happiness of doing something I love to do, but
Mm-hmm.
it's at the foundation of that gives that in it, and it's actually in the silence is where it all comes from, because we get to tap into the silence when we're having
Yeah.
moments of joy. It's almost like the mind is stilled a little bit, and we get to rest in the silence. And then
Mm.
we
Mm.
assume that the joy is the thing. The thing is not where the joy is coming from. The thing is facilitating the process of coming into those spaces of silence. At least that's just my
No, I love
gibberish
that.
in the moment.
No, I love that. I love that. And yeah, I just think it's vital during these times. I know all these people are starting to create organizations and stuff around rest as a revolutionary act, but in many ways it is these
Right?
days. And so, I mean, which is so silly. But why would we set up a culture like that?
I know.
Why? So,
Yeah.
the just those moments of rest, and
Mm-hmm.
I think allow us the ability then to face into the chaos more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, as I'm going to San Francisco tomorrow to play at and be a part of the celebration of Joanna Macy's life at Grace Cathedral. And she, to me, is like one of the grand teachers of our time. She died at 91, and I first heard about her in the 80s, where she was doing a lot of work with, through honoring our despair, we become empowered, and recognizing our despair, we become empowered. And it was such a new concept at that point in my life. And to find the richness through really going into the despair I feel, or the grief I feel, is one of the greatest gifts that I have been taught or
Mm-hmm.
shown in my life. So it's like that, though. You go into the silence so you can find your place. You go into the grief so you can find your joy. It's like all of it. It's just like this cycle of um,
Mm-hmm.
of evolving.
Yes, and it goes back to I'm going to keep using those themes that you brought up earlier. It goes back to that sense of awe and wonder. And like you were saying earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the messiness of it, the chaos nature of
Mm-hmm.
things, because it's only chaos because we can't wrap our minds around it. And when we
Mm-hmm.
stop trying to wrap our minds around things and we enter into despair, when we really enter into despair, notice what we have to do. We have to silence ourselves. We have to enter with stillness. And that's the beauty. It goes back to that again. We enter into the stillness so we can see things as they really are. It's just like when we're out in nature, when you're out in
Mm-hmm.
for me, my powerful. Well, you're there in Seattle, so you know what I'm talking about. When you go out into
Yeah.
those Cascades, into the alpine lakes, and there's nobody, and all you know is every once in a while you hear an airplane. But when you're
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
the space, the silence, you can sit with the quote unquote messiness of nature all around with you, just sitting and being with it and allowing it to come to life.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
had a friend of mine tell me years ago, when you go out into he was doing a lot of tracking work. He's like, when you go
Uh-huh.
out into to nature, just sit still and do not move and watch and see what happens. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, let me do this. Let me just go and just sit
Mm-hmm.
and just try not to move and like watch nature come to life. And
Yeah.
the messiness, the complexity, the sophistication. But I was able to have that awareness
Mm-hmm.
because I was at least moving towards more and more stillness, more and more silence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. What you're saying is so powerful,
Yeah.
and it affects. I think it's foundational to a good life, to a life worth living. A life well lived is
Yeah.
from that space of stillness and silence, being able to operate in the
Mm-hmm.
world from that space.
Yeah. And there is like I just as soon as you were describing sitting at that alpine lake, like I went there. And it's like that's the thing. It's like we can conjure up like a river. Everyone goes to a river right away in our
Mm-hmm.
mind, in our heart. And even though it may be messy and chaotic in terms of nature and the birds and bugs and all of that, mud and getting my pants dirty and all that, there is a harmony that is so clearly working together there.
Mm-hmm.
And that harmony is just that's the teacher, and that's another teacher in life
Mm-hmm.
to find that harmony.
Mm-hmm. And I know I keep saying this, but we can only, I don't say only, I study too much. I play with words too much because I'm so careful, try to be so careful with everything I say, and then I can't say anything. And then I'm completely inarticulate. But um, it's so important to think about this, folks.
Hmm.
Play with these ideas of entering into the space with this in mind, and
Hmm.
and being able to sit with, I just use the word chaos for now, and notice what happens, notice what is arising. Didn't say that it's all comfortable,
No, no.
but it's not always comfortable.
Mm-mm.
Like, sitting in your distress is not necessarily comfortable.
Right,
But
right.
if we sit there and let it unfold, what are we going to notice?
Yeah.
What insights can we gain?
Hmm.
And from the insight that we gain, what choices can we make? Or what can we discover about ourselves in the world? In a world that is chaotic and messy and
Yeah.
imperfect.
Hmm.
It just
Hmm. I love that. I love that. The questions that can arise and that you can ask yourself when you enter into that place. Yeah.
yeah. I think we're very similar. I miss, having this conversation. Man, I used to, when I lived up there in Seattle, I used to backpack a lot. And
Mm.
I haven't done it in a long
Oh,
time.
you haven't.
Mm-mm. And when you're
Yeah. Well. When did
Mm.
you live here? Did I know that?
Yeah, from 2002 to 2009.
Oh, yeah. Goo and I were gone. We weren't here
Mm.
then. You should have
Yeah.
told me you were here. We would have come back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a happy place for me, the Northwest, and because of what you were saying, it made me just brought back memories. And I want to say something to the audience. When you go on a backpacking trip, after like the first 2 days, the first day you still got the urban craze going on in your mind.
Right.
You're
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
restless. But after about, say you go on a 5 day trip, you can do it in three. But that third day, for me at least, and it's different. When you said something about time, it's different. Time is
Hmm.
completely different. It's a completely different vibe when you're
Yeah.
out. I mean, when you're out in that type of environment, I'm talking about out in in a place where there's not a lot of traffic, not a lot of human traffic.
Right. Hmm.
It's extraordinary. It's
It's
hard to
really
put into
exciting.
words. I think what you were saying earlier kind of put it trying you're putting into words describing or pointing to. And I'm trying to make sure I say the word pointing to because words only point to an experience. Pointing to an experience that's possible when you're out there. And yeah, we're using these words. I'm trying to describe it, trying to
Hmm.
say something about it, but to go out and experience that is just for me it was transforming. It's just transforms you. It's quite special to be out there, and that process of discovery just
Yeah.
naturally unfolds when you're in an environment like that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I want to share an experience from Alaska where I was in June, and our last day we were at Glacier Bay National Park, which is at the headwaters of these huge glaciers and waters. It's just gorgeous. Small little village called Gustavus, and the last day we were trying to figure out what to do, and we ended up just going for a walk on the beach. And we're in this inlet, and we're walking, and all of a sudden we just hear this, and it was all of a sudden this humpback whale was just surfacing and blowing out its spout, and then another one came. And then we were all just like falling on the beach, just like, oh my God. And we just stopped, and whale after whale was coming by, and it was right there. We didn't have to go on a boat. We didn't have to go spend $300 to go visit whale somewhere. They were right there in the water, and we could hear them from the beach.
Mm.
And it altered our whole being for the moment. It just really like woke us up in this way that was so, so beautiful.
Mm. All these things that we're talking about, it forces us to be more present,
Yeah, presence.
more accepting to each moment
Hmm.
versus
Hmm.
trying to get somewhere. I got to get somewhere. I
Yeah.
got to do something. I got to make it happen. I mean, this is the thing I'm contending with now. Doing
Mm.
this podcast, I'm doing all these different things. Too much, to
Mhm.
be honest, especially at this phase of life.
Uh-huh.
It's so funny that you bring all this up because this is pertinent to my experience right now of like, what am I doing? And
Yeah.
thinking about, I mean, I grew up in a rural farm town, and so
Hmm.
I loved it. When I was a kid, I didn't think I would ever leave. I was a country
Wow.
boy.
Wow.
I'm still a country boy at heart. I've probably gotten a lot softer than I used to be for sure,
Uh-huh.
but just being out in nature, no, I know better than the way I'm
Yeah.
living now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have lots of wonderful things. I'm trying to do good things in the world and all of this stuff, but at what price?
Hmm.
What am I
Exactly.
compromising? Yeah.
Exactly. And you're blessed that you had that growing up in a rural farm area where you saw the effects of people working with nature and living with nature and trying to understand it and support it. And also, you got to play in it. My God,
Mm-hmm.
that's really, these days I don't see a lot of kids in the city with that wildness of being able to just run and play outside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's in there, in you. So, you just got to remember it, Broderick.
Oh,
You just got to go for it,
oh,
bring
I'm
it back.
remembering. Now I'm just work. How do I get my situation, make my situation different right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, this is great. I love it because it's so important. I want to tie this into, and I think we'll come back to some of these things, but I want to make sure I tie this into music. Because I was taking
Mm,
I play capoeira, this Brazilian dance martial art.
yeah,
I was
uh-huh.
taking a class with this really good capoeira musician, and he was talking about music. He's like, the music is actually in the silence. And we make
Mhm,
all these different noises. It's like you can make all kinds of noises, but if you really sit in it, it's the spaces in between the sounds. It's
mhm.
rhythmic patterns of sound overlaid on top of silence.
Yeah,
It's really all it's the space in between. It's not about just making a whole bunch of noise. It's the
no.
space in between the sounds. I would love to hear some of your thoughts on that. What do you think about that and that idea?
Well, I think it's vital to music because if there was no silence, there would be nothing for it to rub up against, sound to rub up against. It's like, I mean, we've all heard the chaos of, insistent music that doesn't stop. And then all of a sudden it stops. And we all go, wow, that is, now you hear the music in the silence and the relating of the two of them. And, for me, I'm classically trained, but after high school, I just gave it up. I went to nursing school and then met a singer-songwriter named Charlie Murphy, who was a folk singer-songwriter, and we started doing music together. I learned how to improvise, and it was um, through that improvisation where I'm not only listening to what he's creating, I'm also listening to my response to what I'm hearing and what he's created. And then out of that response and out of that listening, I'm then able to add, whatever cello lines or vocal lines come forth. And, if that reflection and that listening isn't a part of it, it just never makes the mark for me musically, because that's where the juiciness of collaboration is like, and it happens within nanoseconds. It's not like I'm sitting there for a while, like trying to find, or though sometimes I do have a hard time finding my way in, but sometimes it's just like a nanosecond of like, oh, I hear it, I feel it, I play, and that's a delicious magic of music to me is coming to that place with emptiness, and then out of that emptiness comes expression.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That to me is the juiciest. Like that's where some of my greatest teachers have been is in collaboration.
Mm.
As like because then I'm able to really go to the source of 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 life,
Mm-hmm.
of creation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. There's so much in that, going into the emptiness. That's back to what you brought in from the beginning is going
mhm,
into the silence. It's the
mhm.
only way you can improvise. You can't if you're just listening to the sound. You're gonna miss it. It's hard. But if you just let me just sit and be silent, let me go into the empty space. Oh, and feel into that and let the sound, let me see, can I find the rhythm or whatever, the pattern, the melody or whatever word we want to call all this stuff. How can I feel into it? And now how do I place myself from stillness, from the silence? How do I place myself in a position to connect with the other individual that's playing, that's making
Yeah.
sound as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And how does then that my connecting to, let's say, Charlie's music then influence his music? And then
Mm-hmm.
it starts, I mean, and then it becomes this exciting conversation, dialogue that is completely new and unknown. Like it's new. It's, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's never been done before. And yeah, I mean, just meeting him and playing music with him was like one of the turning points in my life.
Mm.
Um, so
That's
yeah.
beautiful. I love this because folks. I'm going some. We're going somewhere with this. I think I don't know. It's definitely spontaneous and creative. We didn't plan it, but I
Uh-huh.
love. I wanted to invite that question in and these thoughts in. I'm glad you brought up the emptiness part. In Buddhism they talk about emptiness. At least one tradition of Mahayana Buddhism
Hmm.
talks about emptiness. That's a whole nother discussion. I don't want to go into that. Um, but there's some similarity in the concept here, and
Hmm.
how it's a metaphor for life, and how you just brought up this idea of um, the spontaneity in nature that we witness when we're out there, but the spontaneity, we are natural too. We are of nature. And when we allow ourselves to sit in that emptiness, in the spaciousness, in the silence, and be with each other, and we begin to play with each other through conversation, through dialogue. And like you're saying, that what if you and I having this conversation right now, it's what you just said, describe, we're making music. What you
We are.
just said
No, we totally are.
is reminds me of this because you just said conversation and the
Mhm.
creativeness of the conversation. I know people who listen to this conversation, this podcast regularly. You might hear certain things over and over and over again, um, and but what they're going to hear it slightly different. I hear it differently. In
Hmm.
this conversation, you are influencing me. I am influencing you, and how I'm expressing myself, and how my thoughts are coming to life. You say a word that sparks a thought in my mind, and sometimes I try to utter a word and I can't find the right word, but we keep
Hmm.
dancing, we keep playing together. I'm like, just rest in silence. And it's just like making music. If I stress about the note, or like in this case, if I stress about the word, then I'm not going to be able to find the right word to
No.
describe what is happening. And I'm kind of, the conversation gets kind of muddled. But if I
Hmm.
allow myself, and it's happening now to an extent, because my brain is
Hmm.
trying to fight against being in the stillness, like say what's right, because it's recorded. If it wasn't recorded, it'd be a different experience, different type of conversation. But when I allow myself to be silent and be playful from that place, and then allow myself to be vulnerable and open
Hmm.
and receptive, then we can make beautiful music together. We can have a beautiful conversation together that's new, that's never been done before. Even though we may be using the same words or similar words that we've used before, just like in music, it's a few sounds you can make, folks.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know same sounds over and over and over and over and over again, and you can create an infinite amount of music. Just like
Totally.
in conversations, and why I feel like it's important to have this conversation is because every time we engage in this kind of conversation, we
Mhm.
can discover something new about ourselves. We can discover something about another. We can learn something from another. We can influence each other in the way that we're thinking if we
Yeah.
allow ourselves to create a space like this that's empty of our preconceptions. I mean, it's almost impossible to do that, but you know what I'm getting at with that, folks.
Yeah.
To kind
Yeah.
of empty of our preconceived notions, or empty of like, I want it to be this way. I want to say something, or like, say for me, I'm the podcast host. I'm like, okay, I want to sound smart. I want to make sure I
Uh-huh.
want people to come back. If I'm thinking like that, then the conversation is garbage. It's not hundred
Right.
percent garbage, but it's just not. And you can hear that in music too. You can, if you
Totally.
go,
Oh, totally. No, it's so true.
you're like, they're trying
It's
too hard. It's not something not right.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and there is we're at such a crisis in our culture right now
Mm-hmm.
around just the simple concept of connecting,
Yep.
and so, um, it's like that, when you get on the plane and they say, if the oxygen mask drops, put yours on first and then lean to somebody else. I feel like with connection, we have to connect to ourselves before we're able to connect to somebody else. And how do we do that if all we're doing is running in life? How do we do it? It's like, my friend Charlie has this poem that the line is, when people keep running, something keeps chasing them, and it's just that thing of, stop. How do we stop? So I feel like it's vital. We're at this vital point right now of needing to stop and connect. And if we don't, we're just going to continue on down this road of, self-destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my feeling.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. I feel you. And
Yeah.
I want to keep coming back to, because I think what you said from the very beginning and throughout is so powerful and potent. It comes back to this being. So I'm going to add some words to this: being open to
Mm-hmm.
listening. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way you're going to be open to listening requires a certain amount of curiosity. So you go out into nature, there's a certain amount of curiosity. If you're going to go out and spend that much time out in the wilderness and you just watch, being curious, being open. When you all were walking on the beach up in Alaska and you saw those whales, it transformed you out of a sense of, let me be open, let me be receptive,
Yeah.
let me be curious. I'm going to be curious. And while I'm curious, I'm just going to observe and witness this
Mm,
magic unfold in front of me.
mm,
It was
mm.
spontaneous, but I'm just gonna be still. You're like, no, no, we gotta go. I'm going for a 5 minute walk on the beach. I want to get down to the beach. You'll lose the whales. Or you're like, oh, that's interesting, cool whales. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. And it's like we just
Yeah.
missed this experience.
Yes.
Versus, how do I just be? And taking that lesson of how do
Mm,
we be with each other? Because you said in the beginning, if I'm connected with nature, and then
mm-hmm.
from there, I can, all of these other possibilities in my relationships with others come through that space. Uh,
Yeah.
but like you're saying, like, how do I now connect with others? How do I be with others and listening? How do I allow us to make music together? It's hard to make music with certain people, certain, different, completely different take on sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I figure out how to improvise with another through conversation? That requires a lot of different things,
Mm.
and curiosity is one of those. And I have some others to say about that, but do you have anything you want to say about any of the mess I just said?
Well, and I kept coming back to presence, which was
Mm,
one of the words that you spoke of earlier, where just finding ourselves in deep presence, um,
mhm.
you know, and I'm reminded of. Can I share a poem that has
Oh
become,
yeah, whatever.
and in some ways, it's become like a mantra to me that during the COVID and post-COVID time and it's a poem by Wendell Berry that probably many of you have heard before, The Peace of Wild Things. And it goes, when despair grows in me and I wake in the middle of the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things that do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Thank you, Wendell Berry. It's
Right. Beautiful.
for a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the healing. I went to another pivotal moment in my life was I was invited to the Balkans back in 2000 to tour with Rhiannon, who's an improvisational jazz singer, and Ruth Zipporah, who's an improvisational theater movement, or who was. She recently passed this year. So the three of us were creating improvisational shows based on and informed by the stories of women that we would gather with in Croatia, Bosnia, and Kosovo. And these women would tell their stories of having survived wars and then what they had been doing to rebuild their countries and their communities since the wars had ended. And then we would do these performances. And after being there for 2 weeks and hearing these stories, just atrocious, horrible stories of war and what happens during war, and to women in particular, and families and children, I was broken, literally broken. And I came home and I got really, really sick. And I thought, I've got to give up music. This was back in 2000. I'm going to go back into nursing. It's the only tangible thing I can do at this point in my life that will have, hands-on healing. And I was all ready, and a friend of mine who is a filmmaker and artist who had moved to Thailand called me and said, would you be willing to do the music for a film about the plight of the Asian elephant? And I said, well, okay. That will be my last gig. That will be my last musical gig. And he invited me to Thailand to meet these elephants, and knowing that they would then inform my musical compositions. And literally, I fell down on my knees in gratitude for these great beings. And they were, the ones that I met were in captivity, and that's a very complex situation, of course. But at the heart of a captive elephant, it is still the wild elephant. They have not been bred into captivity. And this is through the love bond that I experienced there when I played music for them, and they came close and were listening, and the trunk was reaching out while my bow was going across the string. And I received a download of a love that I have never felt in my life before and since. And I knew that music was what I needed to continue to do. It was like, this is tangible. And it was an experience and a relationship that then over the next 25 years, I'm still relating to my elephant friends and the caretakers who are in Thailand. But it has remained with me and has changed my life. And so many others that have come in touch with my recording, Hidden Sky, that was dedicated to them, and have seen the performances I've done, and then also went on tours that I did to Thailand. And in fact, our mutual friend Margaret Gold went with me to Thailand 1 year.
Awesome.
Yeah. But that's what I think about, when I wake up in that despair, when I felt that deep despair after being in the Balkans, that experience of being with the elephants completely within the world of music completely healed me. Um,
Mm,
I mean, it, I knew what I had to do after that. I knew
mm.
it. I knew it.
So beautiful. So much in what you said there, and that we can all learn from. The stories that we have, and we can learn a lot from them. I'm over here being quite reflective as
Mhm.
I hear that story. And yeah, when we listen to each other, as I'm listening to you, it can be quite therapeutic to reflect on my experience of life and where I'm at in my journey right now, and
Mm,
and doing
mm,
that type of deep listening and making a choice about what's really important, um, the value, what's really valuable here,
mhm,
and just going with that and knowing that truth.
mhm.
Yeah, because it can be hard. It can be hard to witness the madness in the world, and you feel
Ah,
like, what am I doing? What I want to do something to help. I want to do something to support.
yeah,
But I think something that's important um, in what you're saying, and how do I say this? How do we um, language? Trying to find the
yeah.
one word. I'm gonna lose my whole train of thought now. I guess it goes back to listening again. I guess
Mhm,
it's going into that space of listening and yeah, going back to that emptiness. I think going into the emptiness, going into the silence is this important piece of the puzzle. And for me, making sure to not allow myself to get distracted by the troubleness of the world, how troubled the world is, and come into the silence, the space, and then bring my light into the world, bring my gift into the world. Music is your gift. And those
mhm.
elephants reminded you that music is your gift. How do we,
Yeah.
no matter how troubled the world is, doing our gift, I guess in the Bhagavad Gita, it's talking about doing, it's better to do your own dharma. It's better to
Mhm,
follow your own path, your own inner, quote unquote, cosmic purpose, your own duty, than to do someone else's. If we don't bring our gifts and talents to the world, then we're doing a disservice to the world. If you're not playing music,
mhm,
it would be a almost a disservice to the world. Yes, doing nursing would be great, practical, but also your music is beautiful.
mhm,
It sparked this
mhm.
conversation. We met each other through your music, and I'm
Yeah.
learning something through this conversation. The audience gets to learn something through this conversation because you stuck with music. We had this conversation that you would go to a yogic or a Buddhist retreat or meditation retreat, and you hear these
Mhm,
ideas being expounded around silence and spaciousness and et cetera, et cetera. But you're talking about it from your experience of music and being out in nature. Um, and sometimes we just have to trust the path, no matter how painful the world is. How do we trust our inner knowing about our purpose? Uh, yeah, our dharma. I like the word dharma, but it's hard to
mhm.
translate into English. People are like, what purpose? You can't hardly say anything in the United States or
Uh-huh.
anywhere because somebody's
Uh-huh.
gonna find a way to like, oh, this word means this. I'm like, man, listen to what I'm saying. Don't get caught up into the word. Of course, I can sit up and argue about every single word I'm saying, and I do that. And that's probably
Uh-huh.
why that's why I trip myself up a little bit. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a lot in what you said
Mhm.
there that's centered around follow your dharma, follow your purpose, and I took from that that those elephants, that experience with those elephants, reminded you that this is what my purpose is in music.
Yeah, yeah. And there is, I mean, I'm thinking about like there is so much need in the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every day you get kind of tugged, do something, fix me, mend this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so much is crumbling right now, and we can only do so. Each individual can only do so much. And if we were to think of ourselves as a network of healers coming in to work on creating a better world, um, perhaps we could just go to our simple place in the world that says, well, I can do this. I can do this one thing. And I don't have to get distracted by needing to do 100 million things. I
Yeah.
just need to do this one thing that I do really well. I've got a light that I can shine, and that's what's needed. I don't have to fix everything, but I can
Mm-hmm.
bring my light into this and recognize that we're all, or that there's millions of people who are trying to bring their light in and change it. And, because otherwise we'll drive ourselves crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's like I do the dance between crazy these days.
Me too.
Like, one minute I feel so like zen and grounded and like, oh, I can do it. And then the next minute I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
can this be going on?
Yeah.
So it's, how to, it's like it's more than ever, we just need to be reflecting. We need to reflect, you know,
Mm-hmm.
reflect inward, reflect outward.
Mm-hmm.
The life we want to live and the world we want to create.
That's what this podcast is all about, really. That's what my goal was from the beginning. It's like I need some time, more time to reflect. Well, I spend quite a bit of my time reflecting, but I want to create a space where I can encourage this reflection, like you're saying, and where
Hmm.
people can vicariously have that experience. And yeah, we're this is a very slow growing podcast, and I thought more people would be more interested in this. And yeah, I'm not doing like algorithm hacks and all that stuff. I'm not gonna do it. I just we're gonna let it happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think yeah. I just love it. I love what you just said too, and I want to tie that into something you said as we come to a close here, to about your experience with those elephants. So
Mm-hmm.
when you allowed yourself to come into silence, the spaciousness, presence, what are the words that we use? All those different word emptiness,
Hmm.
pointing to this experience that you had with those elephants. And then you said something in connecting with them, and you said something that I think that is quite profound. I won't say at the bottom of it, but that's just near the bottom of it, because I think the stillness is at the quote unquote bottom of it, in the silence. But you said something about love.
Oh.
Can you say, I know I have my thoughts and people probably heard me say some things about that, but can you elaborate on love and connection and how that love facilitated
Mm.
healing for you and
Mm.
put you on this trajectory to continue to play music?
Wow. Um, that's when I kind of go, are words even adequate? All I all I can say about it is that I um, I felt like my whole being expanded into this. I don't know. It was like taking a huge breath in. It was like all of a sudden my love, if the love that they were sharing and I was sharing, um, God, I don't even know what to say about it, Broderick. It was
Mm-hmm.
just that, but it's the only word that I could describe because it was so profoundly non-tangible and yet
Mm-hmm.
something that I felt in my being that was so clear. Um, that I couldn't have predicted. I could have never gone in there with the goal of, well, I'm going to tell them how much I love them. I'm going to show them how much I love them. But
Mhm.
the world that I entered into, where music became the bridge between us, was love.
Mhm.
It was love. It was just like um, this this feeling that doesn't need words. It doesn't need defining or explanation. It was just, and it was something that only I could feel if I dropped into it with complete wonder and awe of, wow, I am here and I am, we are connecting. We are connecting.
Mhm.
Um, but love, love is at the root. I feel like that's what really we were created to be here, to
Mhm.
love. And, um, and we do everything we can to avoid it in some ways, or
Mhm.
to judge it, or to um, limit it, or to define it. I can only love these people. I can only love these people. And um, why? Why?
Right? Oh.
And I know there are all kinds of reasons of, because they're going to hurt you, because they are hurting you, because this and that. But don't let that ruin my innate joy and recognition that love is at the root of all connection that we have. And I'm going to remember that even when it's hard and even when it's not easy. Um, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a beautiful life right there, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful. And I think I love it. I love it. I thought when you first brought up that stuff from the beginning, connection and all I wanted, and then you brought it right back in. I thought of love right there. I'm like, that's love right there. And
Uh,
and
mm,
how you just summed it up right there. And it's beyond words. It's beyond when we empty ourselves of ourselves. I'm going to say it again, all this. When we learn
mm,
to empty ourselves of ourselves, we can really experience a deep, profound root level of love where there's a
yeah.
resonance, there's a connection, there's an expansion of. Now I know in various traditions, talk about capital S self and a small s self. But there's this
Mm,
expansion into the
mhm,
larger self, the more universal, where we
mhm,
engage in that type of root level of love. When you realize that, like, I can't help but to love everybody. When I
yeah.
empty myself of myself and all of the thoughts and ideas and stories and narratives I have associated with that self, when I empty myself, if I can only do it for a second, when I do that, I can have this profound experience of love. And this is where I think music is so important. I think all of the meditative contemplative traditions are
Mhm,
rooted out of music. I don't
yeah.
care if you're playing the music, you definitely can feel tap into something when you're playing. You're just listening, you can tap into something. When you're out in nature, when you do sit still, you hear the singing of the bird, you hear the rhythm of nature, you hear this
Yeah.
cacophony of sound and music happening, these patterns. When we really empty ourselves of ourselves and
Mhm.
all of the narrative associated with it,
Yeah.
then we can rest in love. Then we can rest in the silence, the peace, all of those things. And I'm with you when I think we're here
Mhm.
for love. We're here to realize that beyond when I empty myself of of Broderick
Mhm.
and all of the narratives and histories of Broderick, and I empty that and I realize that, oh, I am you too.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like I'm not all this. This is not solipsism or whatever, however you say the word. I'm not talking about I Broderick. I just said empty of Broderick. and I connect with, and I realize that when I empty myself of myself, I get to know a greater quote unquote self that I
Mm-hmm.
am an extension of, that we all are an extension of, we all are an expression of. Someone call it God, divine. I don't care about all these words.
Right.
It's just indescribable knowing or experience. When we allow ourselves to do that, I think it enriches our lives. I think it makes life worth it. You know, the world is nuts to me. I feel I've been feeling this way a long time. I'm like, man, this is crazy. This is a strange place, and I have been imperfect throughout it myself. And
Oh,
I'm like, this is strange, and I've known this for a long time, Jamie. I never had figured out how to situate myself in this world, and I'm like, it is a strange place, and you have the opportunity to love in this life. You have an opportunity to realize yourself in different beings. Even sometimes it's painful. Learning
yeah.
how to love a person that engages in behaviors and actions that you do not agree with. But learning to see them as yourself, not Broderick,
Right.
but see them as a self, as a being, as beingness in and of itself. That makes life worth living. That's beautiful. And I think music plays an important role in facilitating the experience of realization of our greater self, our interconnectedness. I think it can facilitate that. And so I think you doing your work in the world
Mm-hmm.
is healing, is transforming. Even if someone like, I've never heard her music, how am I going to? I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. It's having an impact on the field.
Right.
It's having an
Right.
impact on the field and our experience in the field. So when we do our work, when we do our dharma,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think it's important for us to do that. When we do that, we're contributing to the whole. We're letting our light
Mm-hmm.
shine. We're bringing more love into the world. Even if I don't come into contact with 99.99% of the population, I'm still contributing to goodness in the world through following my path, following the path to love, my dharma, my purpose, whatever word one wants to use. That makes life worth living. It makes a beautiful life, I think.
Oh, I think it does too. Because when you're doing that, when I'm doing it, there is a joy and a resonance that is contagious. You
There it
know,
is.
it's contagious, and you know, this dance of life is contagious, and
Yeah.
that's what it's like. I want to let podcasters know also, or pod the people listening to the pod. That it doesn't mean you have to make music. Having a relationship with music is
Yeah.
listening, is dancing,
Mm-hmm.
is just noticing that there is music everywhere. There is
Yeah.
music, and it's just being aware of the impact of music. You can sing. God, every morning when I go for a walk, I go out there and sing because it kind of awakens me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be
Ah.
afraid to sing. Don't be afraid to sing.
Right? Don't be
You
afraid of music. Every
know?
tradition, there's always been some type of musicality involved, some type of
Yes.
singing, chanting,
Yeah.
something. And yeah, this has been lovely, Jamie. I would love to just. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the love, man. I'm feeling
Uh,
the
uh,
the
Me
emptiness. I'm
too.
feeling the spaciousness, and I'm clinging a little bit. I'm like, I got to stick to the album, I gotta, and I'm like, look at this foolishness.
It
Well,
has
let's dig
been
in.
such a pleasure,
Yeah,
Broderick, and we can continue this conversation off camera sometime.
exactly. And it'll really get good then.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know, right?
really.
I know. I would love to play
Mm,
some music with you some point.
that would be nice.
I'm not a quote unquote professional, But
Oh, hey.
I've been playing
That's
for a long time.
oh, that's
Um,
great. That would be fun. That would
yeah, I
be
think
really fun.
yeah, and I'll definitely come up there. I love Seattle. I love the Norfolk.
Okay.
It's home to me. It's like my second home always, no matter where I
Well,
go.
come visit us.
Yeah.
We need some of your light up here.
Any final words before we sign off? I know you just,
Mm.
you've said so many rich and powerful things here, but any other words you'd like to share before we pop off?
I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you are having these conversations and that you're bringing us to a place where we can reflect and try to express what is meaningful in life these days, and may that ripple out, may that ripple contribute to the healing in some form. So I'm grateful.
I'm so grateful too. Thank you so much, Jamie. This is more than what I could have had imagined. I can never say that right. It was more than I could have imagined. And thank you. I love you. I really
I
do. I
love you
appreciate.
too.
And until next time.
Okay. Take care. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope this conversation has inspired you to reflect on your own views of the good life. If you enjoyed the show and want to hear more inspiring and thought-provoking conversations, please follow, write a review, and rate us on your favorite podcast app. If you are tuning in on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support is very much appreciated.